You must seem a paragon of civility and efficiency. Your hands never soiled by mistakes and nasty deeds. Maintain such a spotless appearance by using others as scapegoats and cat's paws to disguise your involvement. Part 1. Conceal your mistakes. Have a scapegoat around to take the blame. Our good name and reputation depend more on what we conceal than on what we reveal. Everyone makes mistakes. But those who are truly clever manage to hide them, and to make sure someone else is blamed. A convenient scapegoat should always be kept around for such moments. The use of scapegoats is as old as civilization itself. And examples of it can be found in cultures around the world. An animal, a human, or object would be banished or killed to appease the gods. The main idea was the shifting of guilt and blame to an outside figure, whose death was intended to satisfy the divine powers, and banish evil from their midst. It is an extremely human response, to not look inward after a mistake or crime, but rather to look outward, and to affix blame and guilt on a convenient object. The bloody sacrifice of the scapegoat seems a barbaric relic of the past. But indirectly and symbolically, the practice lives on to this day. Since power depends on appearances, and those in power must never seem to make mistakes, the use of scapegoats is as popular as ever. Always remember, those who appear to have clean hands, do not necessarily have clean hands. People wear social masks. They are not always who they appear to be. Occasional mistakes are inevitable, the world is just too unpredictable. People of power realize they are not undone by their mistakes, but by how they deal with them. The powerful avoid excuses and apologies. They understand the results of a mistake must be taken care of with speed and finality. The mistake does not vanish with an apology or excuse, it only deepens and festers. Apologies open up all sorts of doubts about your competence, your intentions, and other mistakes you may be trying to hide. Excuses satisfy no one. They are generally thought to be a fabrication. And most people perceive too many excuses as a sign of someone who cannot be trusted. Wise people understand the importance of focusing on solutions, not excuses. The scapegoat becomes a way to immediately separate yourself from a problem. By quickly turning the attention to a scapegoat, people do not have time to ponder your responsibility or your possible incompetence. Never assume anyone shares your moral values. What you call wrong, others call right. While you may have moral issues with using a scapegoat, be aware that there are many who do not share your uneasy feelings. Besides conveniently shifting blame, a scapegoat can serve as a warning to others. If someone powerful or protected commits a crime against you, you find an unprotected innocent, who is close to your rival, and punish him instead. This warns future conspirators that you will not hesitate to sacrifice the innocent to protect your power. It is often wise to choose the most innocent victim possible as a sacrificial goat. Such people will not be powerful enough to fight you. And their too persistent protests will make them seem guilty. Be careful, however, not to create a martyr. If the scapegoat appears too weak, or his punishment too cruel, this will backfire. Sometimes it is better to find a more powerful scapegoat, or perhaps someone not very popular, who will elicit less sympathy in the long run. Along these lines, history has shown the value of using a close associate as a scapegoat. A king would often have a favorite among his courtiers. This favorite would serve as an effective scapegoat to protect the king's reputation. The public would believe in his guilt. After all, why would the king sacrifice his favorite unless he was guilty? The other courtiers would be happy to see the favorite's downfall. The king would rid himself of a man who probably knew too much about him, perhaps arrogant and even disdainful of him. In the long-term scheme of things, it is more important to hide your mistakes than to hold on to someone who is replaceable and one day will probably turn against you. Part 2. Make use of the cat's paw. In the fable, the monkey grabs the paw of his friend, the cat, and uses it to fish chestnuts out of the fire, thus getting the nuts he craves, without hurting himself. If there is something unpleasant or unpopular that needs to be done, it is far too risky for you to do the work yourself. You need a cat's paw. Someone who does the dangerous dirty work for you. The cat's paw grabs what you need, hurts whom you need hurt, and keeps people from noticing that you are the one responsible. Let someone else be the executioner, or the bearer of bad news, while you only bring joy and glad tidings. As leader, you may imagine that the appearance of working harder than anyone else signifies power. But in truth, it has the opposite effect. It implies weakness. You may be a hard worker, but lack real power. The truly powerful never seem to be in a hurry or overburdened. They know how to find the right people to put in the effort, while they save their energy, and keep their hands out of the fire. It is the same way with unpleasant, dirty work. Doing the dirty work yourself does not instill fear. It makes you look ugly and abusive of your high position. Truly powerful people keep their hands clean. Only good things surround them. And the only announcements they make are of glorious achievements. A king cannot appear in public with blood on his hands. Yet power cannot survive without the squashing of enemies. There will always be dirty little tasks that have to be done to keep you on the throne. Every king needs a cat's paw. Develop the arts of finding and using people as cat's paws. And in time, when their cat's paw role has been fulfilled, the art of getting rid of them. There are two uses of the cat's paw: to save appearances, and to save energy and effort. It's good to always be on the lookout for potential cat's paws. If you become temporarily weakened and need time to recover, they can become a screen to hide your intentions, and an instrument to do your dirty work. Look for a powerful third party who shares an enemy with you. Get them to use their superior power to deal blows to your common enemy, while you conserve your energy, and consolidate your power base. Always search out the overly aggressive, as potential cat's paws. They are often more than willing to get into a fight, and you can choose just the right fight for your purposes. Look for a person outside your immediate circle who enjoys doing you favors. Especially if you throw them a minimal bone or two in exchange. Outside your circle, they will be unlikely to realize how he or she is being used. They can accomplish small tasks that seem innocent to them, but they are actually clearing the field for you. Spreading the information you feed them, undermining people they do not realize are your rivals. You can employ a cat's paw by hiring them, and perhaps using seduction. You can convince them by appealing to their self-interest. Explain any possible benefit they will reap by doing this dirty deed. Use charm and seduction to persuade them. A common enemy is always a good motivator. Often, the best method is to simply pay them cash. Another strategy is to trick someone into becoming your cat's paw. This will require some creative planning. The key to planning such a strategy is the ability to think far ahead. To dream up ways in which other people can be baited into doing the job for you. An essential element in making this strategy work is to disguise your goal, shrouding it in mystery. If you disguise your intentions, it is much easier to guide them into moves that accomplish exactly what you want done, but prefer not to do yourself. This may require planning several moves in advance. Like a billiard ball that bounces off the sides a few times before heading right into the pocket. When you need to approach a person of power, you can use a cat's paw to establish credibility, and set up a meeting. Use an associate, or trusted subordinate to hook you up with your primary target. The easiest and most effective way to use a cat's paw is often to plant information with him that will spread to your primary target. False or planted information is a powerful tool, especially if spread by someone whom no one will suspect. Finally, there may be times when you can offer yourself as a cat's paw. As the instrument that protects the king or appear from unpleasantness or danger, you will gain immense respect, which sooner or later will pay great dividends. The key is to make your assistance subtle and gracious, rather than boastful and burdensome. Never impose your favors. This is the paradigm for every favor done between friends and peers. Favors done with fuss and obviousness will make the receiver feel burdened by an obligation. This can stir up resentment and resistance. A favor done indirectly and elegantly has 10 times more power. When helping others in this way, you are helping yourself even more. The cat's paw and the scapegoat must be used with extreme caution and delicacy. Do not use them for matters of great consequence. Too much can go wrong. They are like a screen that hides your dirty deeds from the public. If the screen is lifted, and you are revealed as the puppet master, the dynamic will be reversed. Once the truth is revealed, events will snowball out of control. Your hand will be seen everywhere. And you will be blamed for misfortunes you had nothing to do with. It is wise to save the cat's paw and scapegoat, for endeavors where mistakes or miscalculations will cause no serious harm. Finally, there are moments when it is to your advantage to not disguise your involvement or responsibility, but rather, to take the blame yourself for some mistake. If you have power, and are secure in it, you should sometimes play the repentant. You ask for forgiveness from those weaker than you, like a king who makes a show of his own sacrifices, for the good of the people. Similarly, upon occasion you may want to appear as the agent of punishment instead of a cat's paw, to instill fear in your subordinates. But this should not be done too often, or fear will turn to resentment and hatred. Such emotions will spark an opposition that will someday bring you down. Get in the habit of using a cat's paw. It is far safer.